Good evening, I'm Savannah Kelly. Welcome to APTN National News. The closure of the 2024 maritime commercial elver fishery is drawing criticism from the Wolastoqey Nation, who say the feds are supporting the commercial fishers. Angel Moore reports.
They look like transparent worms. They're elvers, baby eels, and harvesting them is a $40 million a year industry. A week ago, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans closed the season due to illegal fishing, violence between commercial and non-commercial fishers, and for conservation. Ken Paul is the lead fisheries negotiator for the Wolastoqey Nation.
And DFO made these determinations saying that, well, there's a bunch of unauthorized fisheries, and so we're going to, for the sake of conservation, we're going to close down the fishery. We've asked for those numbers and how they actually determined, like how did they assess like how much was being brought up by the unauthorized fisheries, but they have not provided any information on that.
There are 8 commercial license holders, each with a 1,200 kilogram quota, which amounts to about $6 million a year. Paul accuses the federal government of focusing on the rights of the commercial license holders.
But they really don't take into consideration the concerns from our nations. Like, we're still a second-class citizen in these waters. Our members don't understand how individuals could be making millions upon millions of dollars off the resources within our traditional territories.
The lucrative fishery draws people to harvest without authorization. Since DFO closed the fishery, 5 people have been arrested for unauthorized harvesting. Carrie Prosper is an elder from the Buckingag Mi'kmaq Nation.
We have rights to make a livelihood. We know there's privileges passed on to the non-native society to have license to commercially fish. But there are people that depend on the same species for food. And any management plan got to be inclusive of all those things, and the priorities got to be met.
Paul says the Wolastoqey have a management plan, including growing elvers into adults to restock the lakes to help sustain the traditional food source. But Paul says the government is not interested.
We are not getting the full support from the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans. We are looking for other partners to do this. But we have to go ahead and do this. We have to be caretakers of these lands and territories, because otherwise, like, we're not really fulfilling the hard work of our ancestors.
In a statement to APTN News, DFO says they are continuing to have a dialogue with community leaders to increase access to the elver fishery and promote compliance with the Fisheries Act. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also known as Halifax.
The Nisa Nation and Western LNG have purchased the rights to build a 900-kilometer natural gas pipeline across northern British Columbia. The two partners announced earlier this week they have signed an agreement with TC Energy to buy all outstanding shares in Prince Rupert Gas Transmission Limited Partnership. It holds the environmental certificate to build the pipeline. The proposed pipeline would run from northeast BC to an LNG export facility to be located on Nisa territory. Details of the sale have not been made public. Residential school survivors and their supporters gathered in Winnipeg yesterday for an important announcement. A large donation will help ensure their stories of injustice, pain, and survival will be kept safe for years to come. Sav Jonza has more.
It was an emotional day as survivors shared their tears of gratitude and relief. They learned the home that holds their stories from residential school is receiving a large gift. The Winnipeg Foundation is donating $5 million to the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation.
The Winnipeg Foundation is here to gift $5 million to this historic project.
The money will be used towards building a permanent home for the centre. It houses thousands of accounts from survivors on their experiences at the genocidal institutions. The largest collection of its kind in the world, it's outgrown its temporary home at the University of Manitoba.
A lot of joy, a lot of certainty, and maybe an answer to a prayer.
Survivor Laurie McDonald says a permanent location is important because he wants survivors' stories to be accessible for generations to come.
Thank God our stories are going to be safe, and thank goodness there's going to be a place that is concrete where we know they will be stored. Be it a building, be it in our hearts.
NCTR Executive Director Stephanie Scott says the new building will be located on what is currently a golf course next to the University of Manitoba. She says even though they are waiting on more funding, construction will begin quickly on the new home.
Well, I think you heard from survivors today that this gift is instrumental in moving forward to develop the construction of the brand new National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. We still have about $35 million more to raise, and we're really relying on all Canadians, all governments to participate in the development of that and finish constructions while survivors are still here with us.
She says survivors are being consulted on the creation of the new building, and she hopes its doors will open by 2029. President and CEO of the Winnipeg Foundation, Sky Bridges, says the $5 million donation is the largest they've ever made to an Indigenous-led organization. It's also the second largest donation they've made in the Foundation's history.
And it's an investment in a better Canada. It's an investment in a better community. It's an investment in ensuring that the stories of the survivors are never forgotten and that we learn from them and that we can move forward in a good way.
Bridges hopes this historic donation will encourage others to invest in the preservation of survivor stories. Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Janessa Dumas Colom is this year's Children's Hospital Foundation champion child. She's from the Matthias Colom Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. Janessa is 15 and the first champion child from a remote First Nation in Canada. Champion Child is part of the Children's Miracle Network, made up of kids from all over North America. Janessa had stage 4 kidney disease from age 7. She was in a lot of pain and there was very little medical help. Her family moved to Winnipeg and she had a transplant in 2020 and named her kidney Bob. She's been doing well since and she wants to help other kids with serious medical conditions.
As Manitoba's champion child for 2024 and the first champion child to be chosen from a Northern First Nations community, I want all the other kids who need Children's Hospital from anywhere in our province to get the health care they need like I did.
If you want to help Janessa raise money for the hospital, she has her own fundraising page at goodbear.ca/Janessa. Have you ever wanted to see a sequel to the iconic movie Smoke Signals? We speak to a Cree director whose new mockumentary follows that very dream. Stick around. Welcome back to APTN National News. In 1998, the film Smoke Signals premiered to wide acclaim. Its lead character, Victor Joseph, was the breakout role for Anishinaabe actor Adam Beach. But playing Victor's childhood self was Cody Lightning, a Cree actor who was only a preteen at the time. Now nearing 40 years old, Lightning makes his directorial debut with a mockumentary comedy film called Hey Victor. Starring a fictionalized version of his real-life self, the film follows Lightning while he attempts to make a sequel to Smoke Signals with the hopes of revitalizing his career. He spoke with Dennis Ward earlier.
Cody, thanks so much for joining us. Like I said, really looking forward to this film, but can you tell us a bit about Hey Victor?
Yeah, Tonse, good morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah, Hey Victor is a very wild, vulgar, crass mockumentary based on a fictionalized version of my life.
I love mockumentaries for starters, but you directed, starred, co-wrote the film. How did this all come about?
So it was a joke amongst friends of mine and myself about 15 years ago when I was living down in the States. I was living in Boise, Idaho at the time, and with some filmmaker friends of mine, and it was just a joke of a child star well into his late 20s, early 30s that just thinks he's you know, the king, so to say, and just rambunctious and obnoxious, getting kicked out of establishments and just thinking he's this child star that's just like still an A-list actor. And yeah, so that's where the original seeds were planted, and then we pitched at Imaginative Film Festival as a short film. I just thought it'd be fun to get Simon Baker and myself to do something, the two child actors of Smoke Signals, 20 years later in their lives, as a joke, again, just to make a short film for like a week or two and throw it around to some festivals and have fun with it. And then we pitched, and we didn't win that pitch, but we were told that it was good enough to be a feature film or a series. So we got to work, pumped out the script, and got everyone involved that's in the film, and we had a blast making it.
Obviously, you've been around the industry since you were a child. Was it difficult to get this movie financed and made?
I mean, so here's the thing with our funding. It was tricky because we were all one off on the checklist, right, to get funding. So for me, I've been in films ever since I was a little boy, but never directed. So, and then my co-writer Sam has published books, but never a script. One of my producers, Josh, has produced several plays, but never a feature film. So we were all one off from this checklist, but we were, tenacious enough, and we were, we didn't give up. And so Telefilm hopped on board and said, we'll gamble on you guys and we'll fund this thing. And, they hopped on board. So thanks to Telefilm for that.
Well, you're going to get my money, but what can fans of Smoke Signals expect to see in the film? Are there any actors returning from the original aside from yourself?
There are, yeah. So if you've seen the trailer, you'll see some of the actors. But yeah, we got most of the original gang back together. And yeah, so what they can expect is not Smoke Signals Part 2. I am very clear on that. This is completely different, but we've gotten great reviews on this. We had our world premiere at Tribeca Film Festival last June, and we also showed at Toronto International Film Festival. We were Toronto International Film Festival's top 10 movies of 2023. We're also up for 3 awards for the CSAs. Best Original Screenplay, I'm up for Best Actor in a Comedy, and then Hannah Cheeseman, my co-star in the film, is up for Best Supporting Role in a comedy.
Yes, very much a big congrats on the CSAs and everything that's been happening. Those are some huge festivals. Cody, like I said, super excited to see this. The trailers are hilarious. Appreciate you taking some time for us to talk about it.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thanks for having me.
Hey Victor opens in theaters across Canada today. The 2024 Arctic Winter Games are still underway in Alaska. We'll bring you our continued coverage of the Games after this final break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Allison Holmes sent us this stunning photo of the ice and rocks during what is known as the blue hour. It's when the sun's below the horizon and the sun's blue wavelengths dominate the sky. Thanks for sharing that, Allison. Remember, this weekend, send us a photo to share@aptn.ca and then tune in every day next week to see if your photo is selected. Now, let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Over on the East Coast, 8 degrees in Fredericton, -1 and snowy for St. John's. Maine, snowy and -2, and Nukjuak, -10. Montreal, mix of sun and clouds, 6 degrees there, Chibougamau, -1. Sarnia, mostly cloudy and 11 degrees, North Bay, +2. Elliott Lake, 6 degrees and snowy there, Kapuskasing, +5. Churchill, snowy and -12, Norway House, -6. Brandon, flurries and -2, Barons River, -5. Yorkton, 0 degrees and snow, North Battleford, +2. -11 for Stony Rapids and snowy and -1 for La Ronge. Snowy and -9 for Fort Chip, +14 in Peace River. 15 degrees for Calgary, rainy and +11 for Edmonton. Penticton, sunshine and 16 degrees there, Campbell River, +15. Fort Nelson, mix of sun and cloud, 5 degrees, Smithers, rainy and 15 degrees. Beaver Creek, mix of sun and cloud, -4, Whitehorse, +11. Watee, mix of sun and cloud, -12 there, snowy and -18 for Norman Wells. Paulatuck, mostly sunny and -27, Colville Lake, -16. Baker Lake, snowy and -18, Nauyat, -15. Resolute, snowy and -27 there, Joe Haven, -31. It's the final full day of competition for the Arctic Winter Games in Matsu Valley, Alaska. Our reporter Charlotte Morit-Jacobs brings you the highlights and what we can expect today. Here's that story.
Alaska leading the count with 163 ulus, Yukon trailing behind with a respectable 118 ulus, and in third place for medal standings, Team Alberta North with 86 ulus. On the mat, all three teams walked away with a considerable amount of hardware, placing gold in several wrestling categories. In a packed arena, Team Alaska's U18 men's hockey team wowed the crowd with a landslide victory over Team Northwest Territories. Final score 8-1. And they punched above their weight in Arctic sport, snagging 4 gold ulus. Meanwhile, on the snow, Team Yukon copped 4 gold ulus for both men's and women's biathlon ski 5 kilometers mass start. And in bronze place, Team Alberta North, who scored gold ulus in figure skating levels 1, 2, and 3. And an honorable mention to Team NWT. They broke records yesterday and earned ulus in speed skating, 500 and 777 meter events. And the small but mighty delegation at the Arctic Winter Games, Team Sampi, who represent the people whose traditional territory spreads across the northern parts of Sweden, Norway, Finland, and the Kola Peninsula of Russia. They are participating in 2 sports, cross-country ski and futsal. And the sporting event includes more than just games. There's also non-athletic activities. Last night, a lively concert and Indigenous fashion show took place. Designers flaunted wares of their heritage, with a variety of pieces reflective of the land and water of the North. Is Gala, and tonight, the Prize Cultural Gala, a theatrical representation of all the different cultures represented in the Games. Each team has a performance troupe. The Games mostly wrap up today, apart from a few finals tomorrow, and end with a closing ceremony Saturday, March 16th. Charlotte Morit-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
And now an update on Team Nunavut at the Arctic Games. As of Friday afternoon, Nunavut has netted 40 ulus, including 16 gold, 9 silver, and 15 bronze. Iqaluit's Akutak Williamson Bathory earned 3 gold ulus in speed skating. Rankin Inlet's Danica Taylor won 3 gold and 1 bronze in the high kick and arm pull. Team Nunavut is doing particularly well in table tennis with 5 gold ulus in men's and women's singles and doubles events. On Thursday, Nunavut's under-18 hockey men's division won bronze, overcoming Yukon 6-2. But they won't be getting their ulus, quote, due to the conduct of individual team members, according to a statement from Team Nunavut. Multi-award-winning blues singer Crystal Shanda was in Vancouver recently, and our APTN's Tina House had a chance to catch up with her and see what she's been up to lately.
Thank you. We're so excited to have the one and only Crystal Shanda all the way from Nashville, Tennessee here in Vancouver. Crystal, good to see you.
Thank you. So good to see you too. It's been too long.
It has been too long indeed. What have you been up to?
Oh, I've just been really busy in the studio. We've taken a couple months off the road. I'm working on my new album, which will be out later this spring. And we've been doing a few shows. We're actually here in Vancouver. We just played a show, Celebration of Love, for my longtime manager and agent, Rob Patty. And yeah, just, staying busy.
That's amazing. Well, staying busy also means collecting more awards. Congratulations on the Maple Blues Indigenous Artist of the Year Award recently.
Thank you so much. This was the first time they had this category, so I was really honored to be the first recipient and really excited about the future, because I'm hoping this will serve as a stepping stone for other emerging Indigenous artists in the blues scene, because there's a lot of amazing Indigenous blues artists out there, and so to see this space being created for them is really inspiring, and can't wait to see what comes of it.
You've had an incredible career. I mean, you've just rocked the stages all over the world now, and now with this new album, how exciting. But you also come from very humble beginnings. Can you tell us how you began?
Yes, absolutely. I grew up on the Weequahic First Nations, which is on Manitoulin Island in Ontario, Canada. I'm Ojibwe Potawatomi, and I grew up in a house where we were surrounded by music and love and laughter, but we were also healing from intergenerational trauma. But music was our saving grace. It was like cheap therapy, and my parents parents and my brother showed me that. And so I grew up singing on local stages from the time when I was 6 years old. I started getting paid to do when I was 10, and I was like, whoa, I could get paid to do this. And I just never looked back. I cut my first album in Nashville when I was 13, and I moved there when I was 16. But it was those local stages of community events that really helped me own my talent and, you know, carve out my craft. And so I was really grateful for that, all those experiences and local musicians. They were my first teachers, my first mentors, and they taught me to dream big, and that's exactly what led me here.
And dream big you have. What would you like to say to others that have those same dreams as you've been able to accomplish?
I would say just go for it, you know, and don't worry about the destination. Do it because it makes you happy, because sometimes when you're chasing a dream, it's not always easy and not everybody will always support you, but you just got to keep going no matter how hard it gets. And when you feel like giving up, don't, you know, because if something makes you happy, you should do it for yourself, not to please everybody else. And, you know, and you deserve that. You're worth it.
What's that moment like for you, standing on the stage, the lights are on you, it's a full house, and you're about to start singing? Tell me about that moment. What does that feel like for you?
It's always exciting. I'm always grateful that after all these years, I can still sing for a living. Because, you know, when I started out, I'm like, it would be cool to be able to do this for a while, but to be at this point in my life, to still be doing it, I'm always honored. I'm always grateful. You know, I'm always kind of scared. You know, what if nobody shows up? So every time I walk out and see people there, I'm always so grateful.
And now you're performing with your little daughter, Jaja. Tell me about that, now passing on the torch to her.
It's amazing. You know, it just happened organically. You know, we always have her sitting on stage because I like her where I can see her. But over time, you know, I hear her singing along. So I just asked her, do you want to join us on stage? And You Can Let Go is one of her favorite songs. So I said, do you want to sing it with me? So it's become a special part of the show where we sing You Can Let Go together. I sing the verses, she sings the choruses. And, you know, especially longtime fans appreciate it and really love that moment.
Absolutely, Crystal. We're so very incredibly proud of you. And thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome back to the West Coast.
Thank you so much, Jimmy Gwetch.
Back to you in the studio.
That's all the time we have for your Friday news. For news anytime, head over to our website at aptnnews.ca. And don't forget to watch the closing ceremonies for the Arctic Winter Games on Saturday on our website at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm Savannah Kelly. Marcy Miigwech, thank you for joining us. We leave you tonight with the musical stylings of Crystal Shanda and her daughter. See you back here tomorrow.
A 5-year-old's first taste of what freedom's really like. Oh, he was running right beside me, his hand holding on the seat. I took a deep breath and hollered as I headed for the street.
You can let go now, Daddy. You can let